Welcome to Talking Climate with Katherine Hayhoe. Each episode, we explore how climate change is affecting the people, places, and things we love, and what we can do to make a difference. From science to solutions and stories that inspire, you're in the right place for real talk about real change. This week, countries will gather at COP30 in Belém, Brazil, for the latest round of climate negotiations. While the U.S. government is not officially attending, a number of state governors and dozens of other U.S. leaders will be there. Regardless of where they come from, attendees are focusing on implementing existing climate goals. This includes strengthening ways to finance climate mitigation and adaptation, and addressing issues like forest protection and deforestation. Given that this is the 30th such meeting since the signing of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in 1992 and the 10th anniversary of the Paris Agreement, it's a good time to ask, where is the world at now? What progress have we made? And what remains? So here's a roundup of the good news and the not so good news on where the world stands 10 years on. Let's dive in. Good news. Did you know that the Paris Agreement has already changed the trajectory of our future? At the time it was signed 10 years ago, I was writing the scenarios chapter of the 4th U.S. National Climate Assessment. My co-authors and I crunched the numbers and determined that from 2000 to 2015, global emissions had been tracking a scenario that would take the world to 4 to 5 Celsius, that's 7 to 9 Fahrenheit, warmer by the end of the century. But you know what? We aren't headed that way anymore. Thanks to all the policies enacted since the Paris Agreement and the advances in clean energy over the last decade, we're currently heading toward a world that's 2.8 Celsius, 5 Fahrenheit warmer. And if all of the countries' nationally determined contributions are implemented, many of which were announced at a special meeting of the United Nations in September, which I opened with my colleague Johan Rockström, the warming will be around 2.4 Celsius, 4.3 Fahrenheit. While that's not enough to limit warming to the Paris goals of 1.5 Celsius or 2 Celsius, it is still much better than the world we were headed to before Paris, and we can still do more. As Amy Harder wrote after she and I talked about this, every 1/10 of a degree of avoided warming means the world will experience incrementally less severe impacts from extreme heat, sea level rise, and more. More good news. What about climate energy? According to the Rocky Mountain Institute, the clean tech revolution is exponential, disruptive, and now. By the end of the decade, 14 countries will source all their power from renewable sources, and 7 countries are already doing so: Norway, New Zealand, Iceland, Costa Rica, Kenya, Bhutan, and Paraguay. Wind and solar are cheaper to build than fossil fuel plants almost anywhere on the planet, and China makes more money from its clean energy exports than the U.S. does from its fossil fuel exports. Clean energy has become dramatically more affordable, while global investments have multiplied almost 10 times and solar output has increased 12-fold. Today, 1 in 5 cars sold worldwide are electric, up from 1 in 25 in 2020. The Rocky Mountain Institute reports says, the energy system is being transformed by the exponential forces of renewables, electrification, and efficiency. And land use is changing too. Heading into COP30, Brazil's deforestation rates have hit an 11-year low. Want to see where your country ranks on emissions, clean energy, and climate policy? Check out the map linked in the show notes from the Climate Change Performance Index. Currently, Denmark, the Netherlands, and the UK are in the lead, followed by the Philippines and Morocco. Not so good news. We now live on a planet on the brink as global warming accelerates, according to the 2025 State of the Climate Report. The authors evaluated 34 of the planet's vital signs, including carbon pollution, ocean temperature, air temperature, and extent of sea ice, and found 22 to be at record levels. 2024 was the warmest year on record, and 2025 is going to surpass it, a signal of an escalation of climate upheaval. The authors found global efforts to curb carbon emissions extremely insufficient to avoid dangerous impacts, and wrote that this marks the beginning of a grim new chapter for life on Earth. We are hurtling toward climate chaos. The planet's vital signs are flashing red. The consequences of human-driven alterations of the climate are no longer future threats, but are here now, the report states. This unfolding emergency stems from failed foresight, political inaction, unsustainable economic systems, and misinformation. Almost every corner of the biosphere is reeling from intensifying heat, storms, floods, droughts, or fires. The window to prevent the worst outcomes is rapidly closing. What you can do. Although the COP negotiations are technically between countries, many representatives from city, state, province, or other regional governments will be in Belém too. This is why our voices and our votes matter at every level, because they can help catalyze change in the places where we live. For example, in the U.S., California generated 100% of its electricity from renewable sources last year. The city of Chicago, whose climate impacts analysis I led in 2008, is powering all of its more than 400 municipal buildings with clean energy. In Detroit, nearly 1,400 urban farms not only address food insecurity, but also serve as a model for sustainable land use in post-industrial cities. Cities around the world, from Belfast to Budapest, are incorporating climate into planning for healthier and more resilient neighborhoods. States and provinces from Australia to Brazil are setting their own emission reduction goals and their plans to meet them. They're building green schools in West Kalimantan, Indonesia, and setting up climate desks in every local government council in Cross River State, Nigeria. For all the negative tipping points we seem to be surpassing in the natural world, there are also scores of positive tipping points that can be triggered by actions we take. As Matt Simon writes, people can influence communities. Communities can influence cities, and cities can influence nations. These critical junctures, then, can spread like a contagion in a good way. Thanks for listening to Talking Climate, narrated by Ann Cloud. For more resources, links, and actions you can take, check out the full newsletter at www.talkingclimate.ca. Until next time, keep talking climate.